Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coastline Sports Talk. We're sorry about last week. Had a little technical difficulties, couldn't get our videos out, but we're back, and that's all that matters. What do you say?
Yeah, I enjoyed last week, and I'm sorry about the week before, but we will get back to sports talk, all NBA, all hockey, and all, what's the other one, Dylan?
Yeah, so we're going all things NHL, NBA, and we're talking all teams that are in the playoffs. So if you guys were hoping that you'd hear Coastline teams such as the Hornets' future, Hawks' future, all that stuff, we'll get back to that in a week or so, but we figured you guys want some intake on the playoffs, and that's what we're going to bring to you today. So, with some NBA news to kick things off, we're going to head over to Jonah. And we also got my buddy Nate on the phone. He'll join us later. He's our hockey expert. But right now, we're going to go to Jonah to talk about some NBA. What do you think? Let's start right away with the Pacers series last night. What do you think about that one?
The Pacers series was interesting. Game one, you saw LeBron kind of get bashed. Pacers won pretty handily. And I was actually going to kick it back to the Saturday games. Start us off with the Warriors. They got things done. They killed the Spurs. And if you didn't see it, Popovich's interview was just classic.
Oh, yeah, that was funny. Popovich is one of the greatest coaches of all time. And right in the interview, he was just roasting Gatorade, saying there's too much sugar in this. But in all jokes aside, man, he was just trying to have fun with it, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Well, let's kick it to the Raptors series. They lead 1-0. They snap a 9-game one losing streak. They win pretty handily as well. They win by 8. You saw Drake was repping the little Canadian hockey team, the junior hockey team. Sorry about that. All the victims that died.
Yeah, that's a sad story. The Humboldt Broncos, about their bus that not decided, it's horrible. They accidentally crashed into a semi, and it killed half their team. Half their team is injured. I believe one of the players on that team decided that he was paralyzed waist down, and one of the coaches or trainers walked up to him and said, "So what's your next move?" He said, "I'm going to get on the Olympic sled hockey team." And that just makes you seem how tough hockey players are, saying that this dude just got paralyzed and he still wants to play hockey.
Right.
Yes, it is. So we're still on NBA, so not to get sidetracked. That's good for Drake representing the Humboldt Broncos, saying that he's from Canada. So yeah, DeMar DeRozan, he played pretty well in that one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Ibaka as well. He scored 23. That was a little surprising.
Yes.
But DeRozan had 17, but he didn't shoot too well. But he'll definitely get back on track next game, I believe.
Yes, and I personally believe that it will be the Raptors representing the Eastern Conference in the finals. Or you never know, if the Pacers play together and stay hot, they have a shot, saying that they can get through some of these teams. And there's always the Celtics. I mean, they didn't go away. They don't care if they don't have Irving or Hayward. They're always there, and that's what makes it scary.
Yeah, let's kick it to 76ers Miami Heat game. You saw 76ers get the job done. They won by 27 points. Ben Simmons, his first playoff game, he did well. 34 minutes and 17 points, along with 14 assists and 9 rebounds.
Yeah, that's pretty sad, saying that some of these people listening are some Heat fans. What's your intake on some of the Heat, the way that they played and how they do it?
They play with 3 great guards. I'm sure, as we talked about it in the later episodes. Whiteside being their one big guy that they trust, he played really poorly. He only got 12 minutes, though. So look for him to get more minutes. I think he is coming off an injury, maybe.
Yeah.
So just look for him to get more minutes, and they'll play. fine at home, I hope.
Yeah, and going back to the Heat, I mean, they're so one-dimensional. There's hardly anyone on this team that can shoot threes. They got a bunch of mid-range shooters, a bunch of slashers, all that type of stuff. So they really depend on the pick and roll and screens and getting some separation. They don't have that true three weapon that they used to have in Ray Allen. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
What other matchups you want to talk about now?
Well, let's just talk about the last Saturday matchup. A very surprise to NBA fans. The Pelicans beating the Trailblazers by 2 points. That's just crazy. I'm going to kick that one to you, Dylan. What do you think about that game?
Yeah, whenever you watch the Pelicans, you understand how much of a role Anthony Davis has on their team. And I don't know the intakes on the MVP, but he is definitely there. Because whenever you watch Anthony Davis play, you can just sit back on your couch and start popping some popcorn. You can just relax and just watch how good this guy is. And Anthony Davis, he is one of the best players in the game, all unibrows aside.
All right, Celtics and Bucks played on April 15th, 2018. It was the first game on Sunday. And the Celtics, that was a little bit scary. They won by 6 in the end, but it wasn't overtime. And Bucks hit a late three to force overtime.
Yes, that shot was insane. I was sitting there thinking, I said, wow, Terry Rozier just hit the game winner. And he was a reserve point guard to start the year, and now, based on injury, he has to start in one of the playoff games. And when he hit that shot, there's 0.5 seconds on the clock, 99-96, and I just sat there. I'm like, wow, the Bucks are done. But then they inbounded it to Middleton. He chucked one up, and I'm surprised that thing went in, and he got it off in time. Then it got to overtime, and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Eric Bledsoe had two questionable calls. I believe Antetokounmpo had one of them that was even more questionable. Both of them fouled out on those calls, and the Celtics ran away with it.
Yeah, that's described very well, Dylan. I'm going to kick it to the Pacers-Cavs game.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
18-point basher. We talked about this a little earlier in the broadcast, but I just don't know how this happened, especially with Cleveland being at home. I don't see this happening in the future as it pertains to the series as well. But I do think the Pacers have a chance to win it, but it'd have to be in Game 6, I think. What about you, Dylan?
Yeah, the thing about the Pacers that makes them so unique is they have a star by Victor Oladipo, and most of the times when you see a star, they want to take over the game. But Oladipo's a guy that in the tense moments he decides to dish it out to people, get more people involved, and he's not as self-centered as some of these other stars in the league. So the thing with the Pacers is they play together like a well-coached high school team, if you will, and they don't just try to take off with certain guys. They play them all together, and that's what's really cool to watch the Pacers. And if they win, that would be really cool.
I agree totally. Now, this next game, Jazz versus Thunder,
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch, but I feel like the OKC just handled them pretty well. They won by 8. You saw Donovan Mitchell score, I think it was 9 points in the first 5 minutes, along with 4 rebounds. That's just crazy to think a rookie's doing this to a team that, in the Jazz, a team that really shouldn't have made the playoffs. They had a lot of injuries early on, but Mitchell was that spark to make, just to let them make the playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing that sticks out about the Jazz is their defense. Rudy Gobert, I believe Derek Favors, and all these guys are just strong interior defenders. And I believe they're the number 1 ranked team defensively wise. And that's what you need, and that's probably what got them to the playoffs, along with the surprise season by Donovan Mitchell. I believe that he would have won the Rookie of the Year. Well, it's not over, but because of what Ben Simmons has done, I believe Donovan Mitchell would have been a front runner if Ben Simmons was not playing as a rookie this year.
Well, you heard Donovan, didn't you?
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is not a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
All jokes aside, though, let's go to the last game where the Rockets I really thought they'd win by more than just 3. But they, in the end, they got the job done, 104-101. Harden just doing Harden things, scoring 44. But I like how the T-Wolves actually play together. You just look at the box score real quick, and you see double digits from 3 of the 5 guys, and then 9 and 8 from the other 2. That's crazy to think, though.
Yeah, and they got Towns in the middle. He is a great center for the future, and Jimmy Butler coming back from that meniscus injury. So that's really good and promising for the Timberwolves, and hopefully they get back on track and try to pull out a couple W's in this series, although it will be hard playing the best team in the league, the Houston Rockets.
Now, some people call them the T-Bulls because they have Thibodeau, Butler,
Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson. Rose. Yeah, I know what you're coming about with that one. That's really good. I like the T-Bulls. But yeah, they have some playoff experience on that roster, and that's what you're looking for from a team trying to win an NBA championship. Well, thanks, Jonah, for joining us. We're going to kick things over to all things hockey with our NHL expert, Nate Moonen. Hello, Nate. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Dylan. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, no problem. So let's kick things off right away with the NHL playoffs starting. What's your intake on some of the series and teams you want to look for to win the cup?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's probably 4 clear-cut favorites to win the cup right now, 2 in the East and 2 in the West, between Boston, Tampa, Winnipeg, and Nashville. Start off with the Nashville-Colorado series. I think so far Nashville has not played to their full potential probably, but somehow they're still up 2-0 in the series going back to Colorado. Colorado showed some life here and there in the series, so it'll be interesting to see tonight what Colorado has back at home.
Yeah. So the funny thing about Colorado is they had a player named Matt Duchene, and early on in the season he was upset that the way the Avalanche were doing things up in Colorado, down in Colorado, whatever it is, he was not happy with the organization. So he said, I want to play playoff hockey, so I want to request a trade. And now he's sitting on his couch watching his former team play in the playoffs, and that is really funny because that backfired.
Yeah, that final game of the season, Blues Avalanche, that was a fun game to watch to see which team would get in the playoffs there.
Yes, and whenever you have a goalie like Pekka Rinne, which is the goalie for the Predators, you almost have an upper hand in any matchup you have because he is just dominant. He's done it in the playoffs before against Chicago in the Cup, and he's done it against any other team that's come near him. He's made it to the Cup a couple times, and that he's a elite goaltender in the league.
Yeah, I think you can say that about any team who has a chance this year, whether it be Rask with Boston or Vasilevsky with the Lightning or Hellbrook with the Jets. You know, any of those 4 goalies can take over a game at any point.
Yeah.
Let's go over to we'll go to the east side and let's talk about the Bruins Maple Leaf series so far.
Yeah.
That's been an interesting series. I think a lot of people expect it to be a little bit closer than what it has been. The Bruins have came out both games and kind of stuck it to the Maple Leafs. So be a big game for Toronto tonight going back home. They got to show some life tonight or this series might be done.
Yeah, whenever it gets up to 2-0, there's things called must-wins, and that's really what they need to do because it's not really a must-win, but if you get down 3-0, the series is basically over.
Yeah, that's tough to come back from. There's another series also 2-0 in the East with the Lightning and the Devils. I think the Devils are probably one of the weaker teams in the playoff field, so the Lightning have had seemingly a pretty easy time handling them through the first 2. They're also going back to New Jersey here tonight, so New Jersey, another must-win for them. They got to get it done tonight, but it's going to be tough for that Tampa team. They got a tough lineup.
Yeah, whenever they got a goalie a couple of years ago they had Ben Bishop, and he was one of the best goalies in the league, you could argue, and they decided to trade him last season, I believe, and they got this young kid named Andrei Vasilevsky, and he's arguably been the best goalie in the league so far this season, and that's really interesting coming from a young guy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been a great season for them, and especially for him too. A breakout season for him. On the other side of the puck, they got Taylor Hall, who's been one of the best players in the NHL all year, but he's kind of surrounded by guys who aren't giving him a whole lot of help right now. So it's a one-man show in New Jersey.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised New Jersey made the playoffs this year, as long as most of the other fans. But yeah, that's interesting to see how they'll go, even if I'm assuming they'll get eliminated, and we'll see how they go next season and see if they can build on their playoff cup of coffee.
Absolutely. Yeah, the other series that's been real interesting, well, I guess there's two of them that have been interesting in the East, has been the Penguins-Flyers series. That's been a back-and-forth series through the first 3 games of it.
Yeah, holy crap.
Yeah, blowout by Pittsburgh in Game 1, blowout by Philly in Game 2, and a blowout by Pittsburgh in Game 3. So if the series stays the course, it'll be Philly by 7 tomorrow night.
Yeah. So,
I guess it'll be Thursday night they play, but...
Yeah, so, I believe Brian Elliott got lit up that first game. He gave up, I don't know if he stayed in the whole game, but the box score ended up being 7-0, and Brian Elliott did not look good. He went behind his net for one play, caromed off the boards, went right in front of the net, and he scored. Another one, he looked like he wasn't showing any effort because once he got down a couple goals, but you never know in this stage.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for the Flyers with having really 2 not starting level caliber goalies with Elliott and Mrazek. Neither of them have showed that they can really handle themselves in the playoffs so far. Elliott was pulled pretty early on in that first game of the series, and Mrazek came in and didn't play a whole lot better. So, with the firepower of the Penguins, you got to have a good goalie at this time.
Yeah, they're really good. They won back-to-back cups. They got Matt Murray. He's a good goalie, and it's really scary when you see the Penguins because you know they're always going to be there. So they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, and hopefully they don't win another cup.
Yeah. How about the Capitals choking for the 5th year in a row now?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Man, the Capitals...
Two-goal leads in both of the first 2 games.
Yeah. How about Columbus, though? That's a good story. I think Sergei Bobrovsky had, I don't know how many saves, but there were like 50-plus shots, and he's just been stopping them left and right. Game went overtime last night, and Columbus found a way to get it done. I think they were on the power play and skated it in and fired it top shelf, and they got him pretty good.
Yeah, how about that shot by Panarin in Game 1?
Wow, that's insane.
The winner.
See, I'm a Blackhawks fan, so whenever you see former Blackhawks doing stuff in the playoffs or just in general, you just get happy inside. And I still I very disagree with that trade they made, sending Panarin back to Columbus for Brandon Saad. But anyway, yeah, so Panarin, he's been lighting the lamp along with some of the other guys on their team, and Columbus has been looking pretty good.
Yeah, they have. Going back home tonight, or tomorrow night. The other series that kind of interests me out in the West has been the Wild and Jet series. It's been a good one so far with both teams winning their home games so far. So we'll see how the Wild do tomorrow night, back home again for Game 4.
Yeah, Patrick Laine, holy crap. That dude is one of the best players in the game. And you see it night in, night out. They got a physical defense led by Dustin Byfuglien. I think he lit up someone really hard in Game 1. And whenever he's on the ice, people are scared to take it inside because they know they're probably going to get hammered. And that's what you need to look out for on the Jets is they're so strong physically, and they have some offensive weapons like Patrick Laine, and he is one of the best players in the league. So, is there any other series you want to talk about?
The only other one I can think of at this point is the Vegas and Kings series. Just talking about what Vegas is doing in their inaugural season. Very impressive. Up 2-0 already in the first round. I don't think many people expected them to even be in the playoffs, let alone the 1 seed in their division. So.
Yeah, right away with that one. To start the season, I was looking at the roster, and I was like, holy cow, this team might set a record for losing. because you see all these guys you have never heard of, and then you go down, there's third liners from all these other teams, and then you got all these rookies, and then you come back and look at it, and you're saying, how the heck are they doing it? And one of the things that sticks out for Vegas is their home ice advantage they have, game in and game out. The city really supports them, and even without the home ice advantage, I believe they won last night in L.A. So they're a good team. They're up 3-0, and somehow they're in the playoffs, and they're a 1 seed, and they're one of the best teams in the league. So people got to be scared a little bit about Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. I misspoke on the 2-0 series lead. I guess they are up 3-0 now after their win last night. But they've been impressive through the first three.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for joining us, Nate and Jonah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
All right, cool. So I hope you guys have a good day, and this is Dylan, Jonah, and Nate signing off. See you later.